How's it going, guys? Another week, another build. This week we're going to be looking at a Warlock build that I've kind of been messing around with. But first, I want to say thank you for the support on my YouTube channel so far. It's been really nice to see. It's kind of kept me going at this point, which is really nice. And then obviously the 150 some odd thousand views that I've gotten on my one TikTok that kind of blew up almost overnight. This is my third time trying to record this now. People just, be driving up and down and making all sorts of noise, so it's been kind of hard. But today, we're going to be looking at Bottom Tree Warlock on the Solar subclass, which is one of the Dawnblade subclass trees. This build is a Warmind cell build, so, take that with a little grain of salt because the Warmind cells were nerfed. They're not nearly as potent or as good as they used to be, but they're still really fun to use, and they have a lot of really useful utility when you don't look at the damage that they can do. So a large portion of this build is going to be relying on the Bottom Tree Dawnblade melee, which is Igniting Touch. Causes enemies to burn, then explode. That's it. That's all it does. Which can cause other enemies to burn and then explode, and then so on and so forth. And because of these melee-based explosions, I personally like to take use of FELWINTER'S HELM. Melee kills create a burst of energy that weaken nearby enemies. Finishers and kills against more powerful enemies increase the radius of the burst and length of the weakening effect. So killing combatants with the melee or even enemies inside of PvP, you'll get the weakening burst off, and it can spread to enemies, and it I don't know the exact percentage of the weaken, but it's pretty noticeable. You'll go from hitting regular white numbers to the body to where you can crit the body, where you get those yellow numbers, which is really, really, really cool. It has a lot of utility around it. Now, you can use whatever melee-based exotic you want. You want to use Necrotic Grips, you can use Necrotic Grips. You want to use Sunbracers for whatever reason, you can use Sunbracers. This build really just needs you to use melee-based exotics. I mean, hell, you can even just finish people if you really need to. So, because of all these explosions, we're going to be using Warmind cells. Now, Warmind cells, to me, have had they had a long run being probably the most powerful type of builds you could run. Now I think they lean more towards a utility and almost support style build because their damage is not as great. So for all this to work, we're gonna use Wrath of Rasputin. Solar splash damage, final blows have a chance to create Warmind cells. Kind of self-explanatory. This is what we're using to actually make the Warmind cells. As we're not using like a 7th Seraph Carbine or any of the 7th Seraph weapons, we're using the explosive damage, the solar damage to, boom, make a Warmind cell. Secondly, burning cells. Destroying a Warmind cell creates a burst of solar energy that causes enemies to burn for several seconds. Now, while you're on Bottom Tree Dawnblade and the enemies are burning from this mod, they will also explode as if you had meleeed them. You will not get the effect of Felwinter's. However, they will still explode, making other enemies burn and explode. Now, for another part of this build that you absolutely need to use, without a doubt in my mind, you have to make room for this mod, is Global Reach. Warmind cells you create affect and damage targets at a greater distance. The range on Warmind cells were nerfed pretty heavily, and I wholeheartedly believe that this is a necessity for any and all Warmind builds now. Now, for your last mod, you have a few options. You can go Fire Team Medic, which is what I did. Destroying a Warmind cell creates a burst of healing for you and your allies. It's just a little touch of healing. And this thing isn't just like a regen thing, like a Well of Life thing. This thing gives you a shit ton of health, right? This thing chunks your health pretty much to full. It's really good. I highly recommend it. If you do want to run this like in like a higher end content for whatever reason, definitely take Fire Team Medic. I would even swap it out for burning cells for Fire Team Medic before I would use, burning cells in like a Grandmaster setting. Another option you have is cellular suppression. Damaging a Warmind cell creates a burst of suppressing void energy. Additionally, you deal less damage to Warmind cells. So basically, you damage a Warmind cell, it gives a burst of void energy, and it weakens enemies. It allows you to do more damage to them, which is good. Grandmaster setting. You have a Warmind on the floor, you shoot it once, you take care of the enemies that are there. If there's a champion around, stun the champion, shoot the Warmind cell again, get another burst of void damage, weakening effect off, and then just melt down the champion. Another option is Power of Rasputin. You gain a bonus to weapon damage against enemies that are near your Warmind cells. So when it comes to Warmind cells that have a range, when it says that are near Warmind cells, your global reach will affect that. Your global reach will extend the field, the bubble, I guess you should call it, for these effects. So if they're standing near the Warmind cell within the global reach's range, they're going to take more damage. Super helpful. A little extra damage. And then lastly, a very important mod for using, if you're going to use this style of build in any a Grandmaster content or a Master Vogue or anything, Warmind's Protection. You take reduced damage from enemies that are near Warmind cells. The same rule applies when it comes to your global reach. If they're inside that little bubble dome area of your Warmind cell, or you actually, you're going to take reduced damage. I don't know the exact numbers for how much it is. I should have probably looked that up, but I've never really used this one. It's a pretty cheap mod, but if you have it and you want to use this, get a little extra mileage out of it. Now for some weapons that I would use to pair with it, Monte Carlo, get your melee back faster. Also, anti-barrier auto, use both. And then my personal favorite is Tiku's Divination, which is the bow from Season of the Chosen. Just make things explode even more, which is really, really, really good. Now what you want to do is I might have said this immediately, but you don't take this build with a grain of salt. Warmind cells are not the nuke the room type builds they used to be. However, they are still really, really fun, because what's more fun than watching things explode and then burn and then explode again and again and again, over and over and over again. So it's it's really fun to watch. It's very satisfying to watch. Now go out, make this build your own. There's plenty of options in this video, and there's even more beyond that when it comes to arc mods and other solar mods that I just don't use. Another thing too is, if you don't have these mods, make sure that you check in with 801 in the Tower's Annex on a regular basis. She will sell these combat style mods. I believe daily she changes. It might be weekly. But check her every day to make sure. She's the lady you get all your transmog stuff for. But with that being said, next week I am working on a Titan build. And now this Titan build is something I am super excited for. I'm actually going to test it today in the Hollow Layered Grandmaster, and I want to see how it performs, because I am very, very, very excited for it. Other thing too is, I think it was last week, I had mentioned doing a PvP every exotic challenge thing on my Twitch, my live stream. I don't really live stream that much because it's just not really my thing. So I'm going to turn them into videos. I'm going to make a little wheel randomizer thing, and I'm going to, run through, hit the button, and I'm going to see what I'm going to play, Hunter, and then what exotic is going to give me. However, those videos are kind of like a personal free time thing for me, and they're not going to really have the same style of editing, because I have to record everything on my PlayStation. There will be no good quality microphone that I'm using now. Will be my headset mic, unless I can figure something else out. I haven't really decided that, but the build videos will always come first. Those are the main thing I want to put up on this channel, is build videos to help people get through content. Even if you're a newer player, sometimes these little build guides can be really, really helpful. But with that being said, I hope everybody enjoys the week this week, which is double Nightfall loot, and hopefully you can get through the Grandmaster. From what I've been told, it's really, really hard, and I hope everybody has a great week.